Hashem, thankfully, we're coming back. It's not as crowded here in person as it used to be. We used to get about 220 people stuffed into this room on Purim night. But I applaud all of you that are here in person to be able to hear the Megillah, and I welcome all of you on Facebook Live that are tuning in and that are with us here virtually. Well, Rabbi Avi, you want to just tell everyone your costume?
Red-colored levels. And when asked by the giant why he was wearing a mask, he said, well, masks are so very comfortable, not true. In the future, I think everyone will wear them. Yes, it's true.
All right, that was good.
That was very prophetic. Thank you, Rabbi Avi. So we're reading the Megillah, by the way. Not only are we reading the Megillah tonight, but we also, of course, read the Megillah tomorrow. Actually, Megillah Esther is the only book that we read publicly that we read twice. Can anyone here think of any other book in the Torah that's read publicly that you read not once but twice? There is no such other book. It's the only one. The question is, what's significant about Megillah Esther that we would read it twice? So I heard something very beautiful I'd just like to use as a way of introducing our Megillah reading from one of my son's teachers, Rav Amos. And he said very interestingly that the technical reason that we read it twice is based on a verse that we're going to read in the Megillah, but there's a deeper insight. And that is that one of the main themes of Purim is to reveal the hidden. Megillah Esther actually literally means, Megillah is to reveal. It also means a scroll. That it means to reveal. What's Esther? Right? She's the heroine of the story. But what does her actual name mean in English? Esther? It actually means hidden. Now it's hidden because her uncle Mordechai told her when she went into the palace she should keep her Jewish identity to herself. Also, of course, I want to recognize Avi Mori, my father, my teacher, who I have the zechut of having here with us tonight. Welcome, Dad. So Megillah Esther means revealing the hidden. To reveal God when He's not so clear, when God's hand is not so obvious. Now, although the Purim story took place over 2,000 years ago, it launched humanity, we believe, into a different historical situation. Because gone were the times of all those great miracles. Purim is like the opposite of Passover. Passover's got man falling from the heavens and the sea splitting and 10 plagues. There are no supernatural events that take place in the story. In fact, famously, God's name never appears once in the whole story. And that's what Purim actually means. The word pur is laden. Things just seem like they're random, like there's no supervising cause behind the scenes. And that's why Purim, as I say, is the exact opposite holiday of Passover, where you couldn't not see God. God was in our face, so to speak. And that's why we have the tradition to read the Megillah twice. Why? It's a beautiful idea. Because let's say you never heard the story before. Just imagine for a minute, this is the first time you're ever listening to the story. What happens when you get to those parts of the story that don't seem to be connected to anything else? The king in the middle of the night can't sleep. He throws all these parties. And as you're reading it, and you don't know the ending, you don't know how it turns out, and you're just like hearing one little thing, they're like non sequiturs, they're just disjointed from one another. They don't seem to have any rhyme or reason or any connection. But what happens when you read the Megillah the second time tomorrow? You already know the story. You know the ending. You understand why Achashverosh needed to get up in the middle of the night, couldn't sleep, brings his advisor to open up the records. Right? And that's why I think we have this tradition to read the Megillah twice. Because when you read it the first time, it's like the world in which we live. It doesn't seem to make sense. But when you read it the second time, that's considered the next world. The next world, these crazy things like COVID or whatever else we're dealing with in life, and we don't really understand why it's happening. All of this is supposed to be put into perspective. And even in this world, we have a metaphor of night and day. What happens at night? You ever walk around in a pitch black room with a flashlight? All you can see is what the flashlight illuminates. You don't know whatever else is going on. It's dark, it's fuzzy, it doesn't make sense. But when the light comes, and all of a sudden you see the whole picture, then those little things that didn't make sense start coming to life. The psalmist King David remarks that God, we can see God's chesed in the day. When there's light, we see how everything makes sense. But at night, you need a movement. You need faith to be able to believe that this is somehow necessary and important. That's why also that Purim is the only holiday that's supposed to also be observed in the days of the Messiah. Because in the days of the Mashiach, it's supposed to be all light. And the veil of hiddenness is supposed to be removed, and things that were murky and unclear in this world all of a sudden start to become clear. And that is my bracha to all of us, and that's really our mission and purpose as the Jewish people. We were the ones that brought to the world the idea that there exists something that you cannot see. And that even though we can't understand everything that's happening, and we see this and we see that, we can't put the pieces together all the time, we believe that there is a guiding force. We believe that there is, a wizard behind the Oz? There is something going on behind the scenes that's making all of this make sense, even if we don't always see it. So, as you sit back and listen to Rabbi Avi tell the story, listen to the different parts as the story unfolds. Pay attention to those parts that seem irrelevant, unrelated, disjointed. So in the end, we can reveal that whatever happens to us in life happens for a reason. We're going to begin with chapter 1. If you would like to open up Megillah Esther. Those of you who are listening at home, if you have a Megillah Esther at home, if you don't, you can go on to Sefaria, which is an amazing website. Rabbi Ezra, I don't know if you can post.
We are.
Oh, you are. We're posting it.
It's thread.
So it's on the, for those of you in Facebook land. By the way, also just want to say how incredibly humble it was for me to be Robin and let Rabbi Ezra be Batman. I wanted to be his sidekick for once. And, okay. So the story takes place in the aftermath of the destruction of the first temple. And the Jewish people have been exiled after the destruction of the first temple. And they are living in ancient Persia. And the Megillah opens with a story of the days of Ahasuerus, the 127 provinces of ancient Persia. And there's two parties going on. The first party lasts 180 days. All the military brass and officials. The second party is just for 1 week. And at that party, we believe, Ahasuerus comes out in the priestly garb from our temple, drinking from the sacred goblets from the Mishkan, from the tabernacle and the temple that stood in Jerusalem. And it gives us a little glimpse into where our ancestors were, pretty disconnected from God, and also disconnected from each other. Follow along page 54. I'm going to ask everyone here to please rise. For Vashti, follow along chapter 2, page 58. If not, in the Sefaria, just chapter 2.
אחר הדברים האלה כשוך חמת המלך אחשוורוש זכר ושתי את אשר עשה ואת אשר יגזר עליה ויאמרו נערי המלך משרתיו יבקשו למלך נערות בתולות טובות מראה ויפקד המלך פקידים בכל מדינות מלכותו ויקבצו את כל נערה בתולה טובת מראה אל שושן אמירת בית הנשים אל יד מגייס בריס המלך שומר הנשים ונתון תמרוקן והנערה אשר תיטב בעיני המלך תמלוך תחת ושתי ויטב הדבר בעיני המלך ויזכה.
Altogether, there's English than Hebrew. There was a Jewish man in Shushan, the capital, whose name was Mordechai, son of Yair, son of Shimi, son of Kish, a Benjamite. Together, Ish Yehudi Aya b'Shushan Havira, Ushmo Mordechai ben Yair ben Shimi ben Kish Ish Kumi.
איש יהודי היה בשושן הבירה ושמו מרדכי בן יאיר בן שמעי בן קיש איש ימיני אשר הגלה מירושלים, הגולה אשר הבלתיים, יחוניה מלך יהודה, אשר הגלה נבוכדנצר, מלך בבל. ויהי יומנת הדסה, כי אסתר בת עוזו כי לאביהם, והנערה יפתה וטובת מראה ומות אביה ואמה, לקחה מרדכי לא לבד.
Page 60.
ויהי ושמע דבר המלך בדתו ויקבץ נרות רבות אל שושן הבירה אל יד הגיא ותילקח אסתר אל בית המלך אל יד הגיא שומר הנשים ותיצב הנערה בעיניו ותישא חסד לפניו ויואל את תמלוקיה ואת מרצה לתתלה ואת שבע נערות הראויות לתתלה מבית המלך וישניה ואת נערותיה לטוב בית הנשים לא הגידה אסתר את עמה ואת מולדתה כי מרדכי ציווה עליה אשר לא תגיד ובכל יום ויום מרדכי מתהלך לפני חצר בית הנשים לדעת את שלום אסתר ומה יעשה בה ובהגיע תור נערה ונערה לבוא למלך אחשוורוש מקץ היות לה כדת הנשים 12 חודש כי כן נמנו ימי מרוקי 6 חודשים בשם המור ו6 חודשים בבשמים ובתמרוקי הנשים ובזה הנערה באה אל המלך כל אשר תאמר יינתן לה לבוא עמה מבית הנשים עד בית המלך בערב היא באה ובבוקר היא שבה אל בית הנשים שני אל יד ששגז סריס המלך שומר הפילגשים לא תבוא אל המלך כי אם חפץ בה המלך ונקראה בשם ובהגיע תור אסתר בת אביחיל דוד מרדכי אשר לקח לו לבד לבוא אל המלך לא ביקשה דבר כי אם את אשר יאמר הגיא סריס המלך שומר הנשים ותהי אסתר נושאת חן בעיני כל רואיהם ותילקח אסתר אל המלך אחשוורוש של בית מלכותו בחודש העשירי וחודש טבת בשנת 7 למלכותו ויאהב המלך את אסתר מכל הנשים ותישא חן וחסד לפניו מכל הבתולות וישם כתר מלכות בראשה וימליכה תחת ושתים ויעש המלך משתה גדול לכל שריו ועבדיו את משתה אסתר והנחה לדינות עשה ויתן מסטית יד המלך ובכבד בתולות שנית ומרדכי יושב בשער המלך אין אסתר מגדת מולדתה יתמם כאשר ציווה לה מרדכי ואת מאמר מרדכי אסתר עושה כאשר הייתה ועונה איתו.
Second to last line, page 60. Mordecai overhears a plot to